Hi everybody, it's April from April's Crochet and More, and I'm going to show you how to make this shoe. This will be part one of the video because doing the very bottom in the first couple rows is very time consuming, but after you get the first 2-3 rows it's really easy. But what you will need is a pair of flip-flops, something to poke holes into the flip-flops. I bought this mini pick and hook set at Roll King. It was really cheap. It was like $3, and you got different hooks. I'm using the straight one, if you can see that real well. And you will need a really small crochet hook. This is a steel one, and it says it's a 6, made in England, and so I know the size isn't the same as ours, because there's no way this is a 6 in our hooks that we normally use. This is just a very old one that I had, and it's steel, so it doesn't bend real well. I did try to use a number 2, because that's pretty much what this 6 is. And this is one of the aluminum ones, and as you can see, it's a little bent. You don't want to use one that's just doesn't have any reinforcement on it, because it will bend. I didn't try one of the ones like that has the extra plastic or rubber on them. I haven't never tried one of those to see. But you will also want a 4mm, and you might want like say maybe a 2.5 to do the first row, because the first row will be a little tight. But you can try your 4mm, because you can like push down on the foam to get it underneath your first stitches. But I found that the smaller hook for the first row is a little better. You will want to, let's see, I am using the Comfy Cotton by Lion Brand. Let me see what else. You'll want a pair of scissors. The first thing you'll want to do is destroy the flip-flops. You'll want to cut these off. After you cut them off, you'll pop them out, and you'll want to trim them up a little bit, because you're going to use these again. You want to come a little bit shorter than what they were, because when we're done with the shoe, you're going to glue it back in the hole, and you don't want it, how the top is here, it might start scratching your foot or be uncomfortable when you walk. So I cut it a little bit smaller than what the hole is. You can use tacky glue, or you can try hot glue. I'm not sure how well it works. You can try the super glue, but you'll want to glue those back in, so if you're walking around outside in the rain, mud, whatever, you don't get dirt and stuff up in your foot. But you'll want to cut all these off and do that, and trim them all down and save them. And I even debated about saving the little flower that's on these, just to glue back on the shoe if I want for decoration. We are going to start off with making the holes. The holes are kind of hard to see, that have already been punched out, but I did not count them. It really isn't important that you have this an even amount or anything. I did flip it over so I could see the bottom, since there's lines on it, and I tried to make a hole in each little line. Of course, when you get around on the curves, it makes it a little bit harder, but you'll want it to go all the way through. And preferably not right at the edge of your flip-flop because you don't want it to tear. But it'll be more like that. I don't know if you can see the hole right there or the pen going through or not. But you want to go all the way around. Doing this in the first row is actually the first 2 rows is the most time consuming. And if you just make your holes and you decide they're too close together, you can skip one. You can also use your still hook if you don't have a pick or something big enough to stick through there. You can also stick your still hook through there. It just makes it a little bit harder. Then what you're going to want to do, this will be the inside of your shoe, because you don't want to walk on the ridges. But you're going to stick your string through at the beginning. Like this is where I put mine through. I went ahead and already did some. But you want to go around and make a double crochet, or not a double, I'm sorry, a single crochet chain all the way around on your flip-flop. And you'll want to leave it loose. You don't want to pull it real tight, because when you stick it through the hole that you made, you'll have to kind of wiggle it through there. And I found that if I wrap it like this and then pull, oh, I'm sorry. If I wrap it like that and then pull through, it doesn't quite, with it being the separate, I'm sorry, I can't get this right here. Trying to make sure I have all my loops on there. But as you can see, it pulled that one tight that we left. But you want to make sure, especially using the twisted yarn, then you'll want to go to your next hole, which I should have had one probably right in there. I just can't see where it come through. After you get it going, you kind of get in a groove. But I'm hoping you could see I was watching the shoe and not the camera, how it tied that tight, or pulled it tight. Let me flip this around. Which, this is a pain, the very beginning of it, but it's kind of worth it after you get it done. And I'm sure if you used regular cotton thread that isn't twisted like this, you might not have such a hard time doing it. If you used like the peaches and cream, something that's not as loose wound as this. Oh, there we go again. I hope you can hear me over the wind. It's getting ready to rain. I have my door open for help with lighting and for some air up here, because I live in a house that's over 200 years old, and there's no windows in this room. There's just an airing door. So it's nice to have the window open for air, but right now, since the wind's picked up, you can't hear the birds hollering, but you can hear my chickens, maybe. My rooster's been crowing. I was waiting to do this because I live right above a park, and they were having a baseball game, and everybody was down there cheering. You will get that foam stuck in your needle. I just keep on pulling it back out. You will see where I pulled it too tight right there. It kind of squished the flip-flop a little bit. And you don't want to pull it real tight because your string will cut the foam. If you have to like keep sticking your needle in and pulling it back out to fix it, you'll eventually tear the foam so much that you'll have a great big huge hole. Since these are for me, I'm not worrying about fixing that. If I was making them on commission, then I would be more careful with it. Having trouble because my hands are going numb. So I don't want you to think it's me struggling with the yarn or with the flip-flop as much. It's just my hands like to go numb. So that makes it harder for me to hold on. Let's see how I just put a hole in through the side of that one. Let's see if I can get it over further. You'll really have to excuse me because I cannot feel the end of my fingers. I can't think of what it's called. I have it, my daughter has it, where the muscles in our shoulders are too tight. And when we have our hands raised, it cuts off the circulation to our arms. So our hands go numb. The doctor that diagnosed my daughter said he had never knew anybody in the same family to have it. Oh, I'm sorry, I keep hitting that camera and jiggling it. After you go all the way around your shoe, you will start with, I'm not going to finish this so you guys can, I'm sure, are bored watching me do that. Shake my hand and try to get the filling back in them for a minute. Because I don't know how to pause. If I pause my video, then my camera doesn't let me pick it back up. I'm going to use the 4mm hook. And when you get around to get your chain done all the way around for your, pretty much as your first row, if you want to call it as a first row, you'll want to hook that through there. And you're just going to do single crochets all the way around, which this part is much easier if you use a smaller hook for the first row, because it slips in there so much nicer. That's my little tail from where I started it. If I can get my hands to cooperate here to show you. But you're going to want to go through, do single crochets all the way around. And I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with this yarn, and it's just me. Let's see if I can get it back in there. Slip it under there. These bottom stitches on your shoe, you're going to want them to be a little more snug, just because it's the bottom of the shoe, which is going to have more wear and tear on it. But you also don't want this one to be, because I'm using the smaller hook, I don't want it to be so tight that I can't get the 4mm in it when I get back around. Out of the way. As you can see, it's a lot easier to do this first row with the 2.5mm. But you can use whatever size it's easiest for you to get through. I just tangled it all up again. But what you're going to want to do is just keep doing the single crochets all the way around. And because the sides is what gets the most wear and tear of your shoes, besides the very bottom, you're going to want to do single crochets all the way around. And you're going to want to, I kind of stuck my foot in it to get the height of my foot as I went. I just kind of kept checking. And you can either do it in the round, or if you want to go back and forth in rows, if you want to do a row, connect, turn it, do a row, connect, you can. But I just went ahead and did it in the round all the way up until I got up here to the top. And I'm not going to really give you a row count for this because I have a big foot. But if you put your foot on the flip-flop, or whoever you're making the shoe for, or if you can measure from the bottom of the sole to the very top edge of your foot to get the width of the size. Yeah, width is right. The width of the sides. So you know how high to make it so your foot's not falling out. And you also, if you find that when you're sticking your foot in there, if it's too loose, you can do some decreases, which I will show you how to do decreases in the next video. But go ahead and do your single crochets all the way around, and just keep doing the single crochets. After you get past this, doing this first row, it gets much easier and it goes very quickly. Even though it's single crochets, it doesn't take long at all. But I just did the single crochets on the sides because I wanted the shoe to be more sturdier. So I will show you more on the next video on how to do around the top and the very edges. But it's really simple. Don't think you're going to be fighting with it like I am right now, but I'm fighting with it just because my hands are numb and I can't feel the string. So if you have any questions, just leave me a comment and I will try to help you, or even show you how to do it. So work on that one, and I will get your next video out by Monday, maybe sooner, so you can finish your shoes. Thanks for watching, everybody.